So, a bit of a warning, everyone. This video will contain both spoilers, which, if you haven't seen the film already, be surprised, and opinions. Art is subjective, and I will be giving my take on the artwork. So, King of the Monsters today is a year old, and, without going too in-depth into it and just talking about it and looking back at it, how was the film? How's it aged? What's it like now? Everything in this film, or everything in this video will be solely my opinion. I guess to say the best words to describe this film, after seeing it most times, is disappointing. I have seen this film several times, 3 times in theaters, multiple times at home, and I really have looked at many scenes, studied this film, read good portion of the book, really looked into it, and this film felt like lost potential. There's a lot of elements of it that were really kind of just stripped from it. And that's not to say everything is bad, and just know ahead of time I do really like this film and do enjoy it, but it's not one of my favorites. First things first, when the humans take up most of your film, no matter if it's just a Godzilla film or if it's any film in general, the humans have to be likable, they have to be relatable, they have to be something you can actually grasp onto and enjoy. The motives in this film are not the best. A lot of them really awkward. There's a lot of really weird and weak dialogue, weak character development, and there's just some really weird MCU humor that doesn't add up. All the stuff you've heard plenty of times, but it's true, that's why you hear it. And it's all stuff that it really dampens the quality of the film, because you have to sit there and you have to be with these characters, and a lot of that is lost potential. Mark Russell, one thing he does have on Ford, I'll give him, is that unlike Ford, who was set up early on to be able to defuse a bomb and never succeeded to do that, Mark was set up to be an animal. He knew what to do with animals and stuff, and he did all of his stuff. He knew all that stuff, couldn't look back on it now. He should know how to do all that stuff. That's why they looked to him. He knew what was up. He studied them for years in private or in all the sorts of stuff. He helped develop the orca. But there's times where he knows a little too much, such as the hangar scene. Millie Bobby Brown doesn't get much to work with in his films, which is really disappointing. Charles Dance's Alan Jonah is amazing. Farrah Farmiga as Emma Russell, I thought her acting was fine. I thought her performance was actually really good at points, but just the writing for her character was kind of atrocious. It wasn't just... her motivations and stuff were just not all there. Kind of weak. And then, we got Ken Watanabe back as Dr. Serizawa. Really disappointed that both films in the Monsterverse haven't developed him much. I kind of prefer his 2014 counterpart, although I'm just telling you right now, the scene in this movie where he sacrificed himself, such an amazing scene, one of the best I've seen in a lot of Godzilla movies. If only he got more development to make that scene even more impactful, because that was actually, for a character that didn't have much development, that was one of the most impactful scenes I've seen in a long time. But due to the fact that he necessarily didn't have the best development, you can't feel it the same way, which is really a shame. But we have, and then a lot of tension in that scene too was ruined, as we're going back to it, by a joke that was made after he gave a really good speech. But beyond that, there was Farrah Farmiga, that was really wasted potential. Chen, all of them are good characters. I mean, the side cast is they're not the best in the world. They kind of do what they gotta do. Some of them kind of do take away from the film though, or a little bit annoying. And a lot of the comedy falls flat in this film, which was really disappointing. And, but that's the thing this film was going for, unlike 2014. It's not a human-driven movie. Even though the humans are in it for the most part, it's a monster-driven movie, right? So, with the monsters, and it's unlike 2014 where the monsters take the background to the humans. In this film, the humans take the background to the monsters in terms of development and the importance. And with this film, the monsters do shine as characters. A lot of them have a lot of really good character, their personalities and stuff are really enjoyable. Obviously, they're not necessarily the best as actual characters, but a lot of the personality and stuff given these monsters is amazing. Ghidorah and Godzilla were really fun to watch. Their personality was really enjoyable. Mothra and Rodan needed a little bit more time to shine, but Rodan got one of the best scenes in the movie, which is always a real blast to watch. A lot of the monsters did some really cool stuff in the film. And yeah, I really do love the monsters themselves in the film. I think they all are great to watch. They're fun to watch. They're all really great versions and incarnations of themselves, some of them being my new favorites. And all the side monsters, to me, are not nearly as good as the Mutos, because they're kind of just plot. They're almost there just for plot. Just so, oh, hey, these monsters attacking a city. And that's all they are. They have nothing important. And then to make a cool visual at the end for the story. Beyond that, they have no sympathetic, really good connection feeling like the Mutos had, which is really disappointing. But, Godzilla and them were the stars after all. And then, to move on from that topic, a lot of the filming and editing in this film, too, also made it kind of hard to watch a lot of it. Which kind of disappointed me. Even the first time I watched it, although I had a blast watching it at IMAX, it was really disappointing that the filming of these fights was kind of awful. I mean, the editing and all that's just so clunky and just, I don't understand what went wrong. I think, they got rid of all the weight. There's some really bad uses of camera angles, and some of the cuts, there's some stuff they just need to let the camera breathe. It shouldn't cut. Just let the shot play out. Such as, a good example of this is whenever Godzilla throws Ghidorah by the neck when you were looking out the Argo jet. That shot should never have cut the humans in the middle. It made no sense. That shot needed to breathe. The choke slam probably should have breathed a little bit more. There's several shots where they just cut way too fast, and it just makes it hard to watch when so much is going on at once. And like I said, some of the usage of camera angle stuff wasn't the best either, per se. And I think one of the scenes that really, really shows how weightless and fake these monsters feel, there's a scene where they're looking for the orca in Fenway Park, and Ghidorah and Godzilla are literally stepping right beside them. Literally, they're underneath their feet. The monsters are walking, battling right beside them. These ancient, rivals, hundreds of thousands of tons just smacking at each other, stomping. There's literally a shot where Godzilla stomps Ghidorah's head into the ground, and it feels like nothing. It feels like air. It smashes and nothing moves. There's no weight. The way you fix that scene is to have the monsters actually, when they walk, everything's loud. The earth shakes. The people are stumbling. They keep falling on their faces. When they basically have to be crawling to get to the orca, and but even that would make them just bounce through the air even more. I understand maybe that wouldn't have been the best to watch, but man, this just a shot like that, for example, is the perfect example of some of the weak stuff with this film. The usage of no weight really made everything just feel like it wasn't there. At least with 2014, the monsters felt real. Or Kong Skull Island, the monsters felt real. This film had no weight to it, and that really took away from the quality of it when you couldn't enjoy it. And then, even if you could, even they didn't have all that, and they showed the monsters more, the fights are so short, At least 2014, we get built up to this one epic final fight that, whether you like it or not, that's just my opinion, but you get to see a lot of it. This film has a lot of really quick fights, and it tries to go a similar route 2014 in a way where it doesn't show much of them, so you don't get overloaded, and it's going to wait till the end to show you it, right? No, it really holds back still at the final battle, and most of the fights and stuff and action sequences become just big, long highlight reels. The Rodan fight is 3 shots and it's done. They should have showed more of that. The Antarctica fight, there's maybe 6 shots of the monsters where you actually see them do something against each other, and that fight's done. Rodan and Mothra have 3 sequences, and 2 of them are a matter of seconds they last. And along with some of the, like I said, the weak editing and just clunky just work in this film, it makes it kind of hard to watch. There's also some ugly color palettes and stuff, and Unlike something like Kong Skull Island, for example, the visuals can be really weak in this film when they're really hard to see due to all the storm and weather effects and all sorts of stuff. If you have a proper cut of 2014, because I don't believe the dark argument is a valid one because it's just a transfer. If you have a proper version of 2014, that film is very visually like there. You can see it. There's not a lot covering up the screen. You can see everything going on. You know, it might be just slightly dark because it's at night, but there's versions of it that are so clear. You're not missing anything. There's nothing going on there. There's so many visual effects, though, covered up by, like, this ugly color palette and, you know, just all these different effects at the same time going on at once. It makes it really hard to enjoy the, like, CGI at some points. Which brings me to another point. Some of the CGI is so amazing in this film at points that it looks damn near real. It looks like something's actually there. Some of these shots, just some of them, they, like, I'm not kidding here. There are some shots that look so amazing, it's not even funny. Rebirth looks absolutely gorgeous. I love that shot. You know, I really do. That's such a great shot and one of my favorite shots in a Godzilla film of all time. But then you got shots like Rodan coming out of the volcano, or whenever Ghidorah grabs Godzilla in Boston. I know I'm using, like, examples a lot of people use, but it's just to get the point across. You know those shots. That's why people use them. And a lot of that stuff also dampers it. But even if it had weak effects and stuff, you know, they could still make up for that with other elements, which a lot of them aren't there. But what about, you know, other qualities of the film? Is the music good? The music's amazing in this film. One of the best soundtracks for a Godzilla film. Even the original scores are really good. In a slight way, if we're talking about specifically original themes, might prefer 2014's for just personal reasons. Maybe. I don't even know if I do. But the Akira Fukube covers and the themes of Rodan, Mothra, and Goodbye Old Friend, those are some of the best tracks. I can't believe this soundtrack did not earn, like, some sort of award for. You know, Bear McCreary made one of the best sounding Godzilla themes ever with Rebirth. I can't believe how amazing that is. And the Ghidorah and Rodan themes are great. Mothra has a great cover. Battle in Boston, just a... that looks so amazing. And, you know, I've been trashing on this film a lot, but I do really enjoy this film, you know. I'm not going too in-depth with my thoughts on everything. You know, I'm just talking about 1 year later, kind of how I feel, just summed up. But while there's a lot of stuff I dislike about this film holds it back, I do really like it still. There are a lot of really creative elements to it that I think are really fun to finally see. They don't hold back. They do very different stuff, you know. Rodan fights Mothra, which I thought whenever I found out that was going to be in the film, I was like, that's cool. That's cool. If only we got to see more of it. Ghidorah and Rodan's fight, you know. All these different monsters waking up on Earth. They had killing off Zarazawa already. It was a bit risky, and it was a really beautiful scene. I just wish for more development to that. But they made a really amazing scene out of that with one of the best soundtracks in the film, and one of the best soundtracks in a lot of movies in recent years. I was really impressed by that. Obviously, like I said, there's scenes like Rebirth. I love the one segment in the battle in Boston where Godzilla is after Ghidorah does chokeslam, Godzilla does atomic breath, and the Mothra comes out of the sky. One of the best shots I've seen, and one of the best shots in the movie. It's such a great shot. There are definitely still some really good visuals in this film that are clear and look beautiful. And Godzilla's arrival in Boston, I would argue, is one of the best Godzilla entrances ever. The only two I think come on par with it is Godzilla's airport battle from 2014 and Terror of Mechagodzilla's entrance. The entrance in this film to the Battle of Boston is so good. Oh my god, I can't believe how amazing it is. And you know, what's really weird to me too is that if you ask me personally, growing up and stuff, for the most part, I was always a Heisei fan. I haven't finished my rewatch yet, so I can't really determine if I prefer Heisei more than Showa still. But watching this film every time, and watching 2014, it's something that I thought would be interesting for years. And while 2014 feels like a Showa film, especially early, since 1954 is one of its biggest inspirations, this film felt like a full-on Heisei film. It had very goofy stuff to it. You know, the humans weren't the most developed. You know, some of them were kind of weak. The monsters were crazy powerful and had these big epic brawls and stuff throughout the movie, where there was tons of monster stuff spread out throughout the film. The monsters got a lot of screen time, although if you look at the actual numbers, not really, but it feels like they get a lot more screen time because of the fact that, just like the Heisei films, the monster stuff spread out a lot. The monsters are given way more character, which while they were given character in the Showa series, the Heisei ones a lot of times are straight up like they have their own story arcs and stuff. In the Showa one, like Terror of Mechagodzilla, for example, Godzilla just shows up and beats stuff up. He doesn't have like much beyond that in the movie. Although, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. But this film, he has a full character arc, just like Heisei. I mean, a lot of the plot points literally sum up a Heisei film. For first off, you have something like you have the Argo Jet, which is based off the Super X, clearly, and a lot of the technology in this film is much more advanced. You have tons of monster action spread throughout, and you have stuff such as like Godzilla and them have a fight. Godzilla ends up nearly dying from something. Something kills him. He gets supercharged from a nuclear substance such as King Ghidorah, where he almost gets killed by the bacteria from Biollante, or he just gets really weakened, but he's recovering, and then the nuclear sub revives him and makes him stronger, bigger, all sorts of stuff. That film does this too. Just like he does some later movies, he goes supercharged. Then he's going to go critical mass or whatever and blow everything up. And because of a sacrifice and a lot of excess energy, he becomes Burning Godzilla. It has all these crazy power-ups and stuff. This film really did feel like a Heisei film to me. And that's a weird thing to me, though, is that I think the reason I don't like it as much is just because of the fact that the monster action and stuff in this film, due to a lot of the editing and stuff, makes it just feel clunky and just like something I enjoy way less. But I know I'm going to get a ton of hate for this video. I know people are really going to dislike me for this video, and I'm not going super in depth with all my opinions on this movie, but just know I do really enjoy this film. I really appreciate the fact we have this, and thank you, Mike, for bringing your taste to the Godzilla series. We love it, hate it, dislike it, like it, no matter how we feel. It's always nice to see a new face, director, whatever, a new vision of Godzilla. And, I love basically everything about Godzilla and every Godzilla. Godzilla is Godzilla. I mean, even the worst in the franchise, other than Raids Again, it still will always hold a place in my heart. And I love this franchise to the core. And I understand, this film was from a fan. Mike definitely wasn't trying to disrespect the franchise or anything. And I do think he sometimes gets too much hate. So while I might not love the film, I still like it, and I'm glad we got it, and I do hope GVK is also very unique in its own way. I have a lot of faith in Wingard, and I think he's going to give us a really good movie. So, what do you all think? Again, these are just my opinions. If you disagree, I'm sorry. We don't have to agree on everything. All I just ask is that we all be respectful and talk about it in the comments. Nothing I'm saying is factual. It's just my subjective opinion on the artwork. So, everyone just be peaceful in the comments. We're all talking peacefully, and I think it could be a nice discussion. So, as always, long live the king, and happy 1-year anniversary Godzilla King of the Monsters. As always, thank you, and bye-bye.